Hi, real quick, I started a Ko-Fi. I'll be posting little sneak peeks and behind the scenes stuff over there, so if you'd like to donate, it'd be going towards a good cause. Okay, it's for this possum driving a peanut. I want to bake him into a sandwich like this guy did. So yeah, links in the description if you want to help me accomplish my dreams, or whatever. I don't even care. Today we're going to be talking about Star Cup. It's our third cup of the series, and I had a ton of fun making these. And that's saying a lot because one of them is a Mario circuit. Now let's go ahead and look at this Star Cup that I've conjured up with my mystic wizard powers. Up first is my version of Mold Mario Circuit, one of those classic reoccurring oh geez, some awkward. I guess Mold Mario got to go first. So let me scrape all this mold with my rusty shovel real quick. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Anyways, we have this game from Mario Circuit, which is in the Star Cup as a little callback to DS doing this, and also so there wouldn't be two Mario-based tracks right next to each other. I figured this track would be a good place to have the neat functioning question blocks for Mario Kart World. I started working on this series before World was even announced, so I don't want to bring anything like tracks or game mechanics to these courses. But the question blocks seem simple enough to be here. Here they would just grant you a coin when you drive under them with a small chance of giving a 10 coin. You'll start this race here and make a right turn. You can go left and drive across this rolling hill and bridge, or go right into the water with some boost pads at the end. You hit another rolling hill and launch off this cliff. There's a mushroom cut across this hill with a Stxrbqy here, and you drive across this neat little bridge, and then across Peach's castle. There's a piranha plant and a half pipe here, and then you enter the castle. It's pretty similar to what Mario Kart 7 did, just a roundabout, but here you go into the basement and then out another pipe into this river. If you have a drill mushroom, you can also drill through the floor here and cut the entire turn. You turn left and go under the bridge, or over it if you have a feather. Then you head downstream with some ramps and bloopers to maneuver around. You exit the river and finish the lap. I told people in my server that I had a Mario Circuit planned for this video, which was met with threats if this wasn't an interesting track. So if I never upload again, you know what happened. LOL.
How do you play it?
You see? She speaks in tongues! She's a witch! Dunk the witch! Dunk the witch!
I designed the track with marker and paper in the last one, so the obvious next step from that is a full model. I'll have a little documentary type thing linked below if you're interested in the full process, because there's way too much to say about making this one, but I will talk about it as a track concept. So first of all, some shortcuts have to be taken, because it's a Mario Kart track, and it'd be kind of boring without them. Stupid. And also I couldn't execute my full idea with cardboard. One of my favorite parts about 3D projects without a plan is figuring out the stuff as you go and seeing where that leads the entire thing. So for this course, you'll start in the woods and drive through this little patch of trees. You cross over this moat and into a little peasant village. You take these two turns throughout with the mushroom cut right here, or you can cut even more right here with the drill shroom. You drive up through the gate with a ramp here, taking a large turn through this castle, then driving the back road. You can also fly over the castle wall right here if you have a glider. You end off with this cliff jump and complete a lap. Up next we have Moldy Manor. Damn it, Mold Mario! Up next we have Motley Manor, based on Motley Boss Blob from 3D World. This track is based on a Halloween carnival, one of my favorite aesthetics ever. Most of this course takes place inside the mansion, and I made sure to put plenty of stuff inside of it instead of just an oval, like another recent spooky track. So you'll start here in the festival area with lots of carny games to drive by. You do a U-turn on this little boardwalk, or you can take this route that I planned on making a shortcut, but then I realized it's probably not even faster, so it's more of just an alternate route. You then follow this little road with splunkins to avoid. Speaking of splunkins, I love splunkins. I want to know why splunkins were just like in those 3 levels in New Super Mario Bros. Then the splunkins never came back. After that, you'll enter the mansion by going up this ramp. There's also a glider cut you can take up here to boost over this little patch of off-road. Or you can just use a mushroom once you get up here. And this room there's a few classic enemies with neon colors. The fuzzy and the piranha plate can attack you, so be careful. You can take this anti-gravity segment on this slide-like road, and then follow this path onto the little balcony area. You re-enter the mansion and have a chance to see racers driving over you, where the second green slide crosses over with the first one. You take a left and drive around the thing from Squid Game, then take this blue slide down to the lowest level, where you'll find yourself in one of those classic boat rides. The water is really shallow here, so no submerged driving, but there is a few boats to look out for. You exit the mansion through the spinning wheel, which was the staple of the fun houses I went to as a kid. If it didn't end off with a whimsical spinning wheel, it was ass. There's a mushroom cut you can take here, this little photo cutout stand, and then you take this U-turn to finish the race. There's also little bruiser mascots to avoid. I didn't expect them to be so charming, but it's one of my favorite things I've ever drawn. But that's all I got to say on Motley Manor. This is probably my favorite track that I've ever made, so I hope it becomes a fan favorite among you guys.
I would feel better if you go play over on the sponge beds.
Finally, we have Deep Sea Drive, the last track of this cup, and our first segmented 3-part course for the series. For this first lap, you'll be in this ocean research base. You'll start above the water over here. You take 2 right turns and then go up this ramp, and across this bridge with gaps to jump over. Then you turn past these little buildings, and then you descend into the base. You do a turn here, then go even deeper, driving through this lobby area that I imagine has marine biology posters all around it. You take a right turn here, then you either drive across this little bridge, or the 2 split anti-gravity paths on the walls. You can take a left and go down into this little port area, and head to the second segment of the race. You exit the research base here, and then you'll drive across the seafloor with a little shipwreck to trick off here if you have a mushroom. Take this curvy road through the coral and rocks with an anti-gravity route right here. There's 2 half-pipes following it, and some rocks scattered in the middle of the road here. If you have a feather, you can glide across the giant gap and skip a turn. Or if you have a mushroom, you can cut through the seagrass. You take this descending road while there's those evil purple cheap cheeps to avoid, then enter a little field that transitions into a kelp forest. There's a ton of twisting roads here, including a mushroom cut you can take through this cave, leading you out here. Or there's another cut that takes you above. You end this segment by gliding into this current, the ocean equivalent of one of those star glides on Rainbow Road. For the last bit, you land around this area, then you take a right turn to drive straight down this cliff. There's a shipwreck lodged into the cliff here that you can make a few turns in, or if you have a feather, you can glide on top of the boat for the 2 optional shortcuts. You reach the bottom and make a U-turn with a half pipe right here, and enter this cave with more twisty split route areas. You exit the cave and drive along this road, but be careful to dodge that really fucking scary eel that probably shouldn't be in a Mario game. Oh wait, he's actually kinda cute. Hey little guy. There's a few alternate turns you can take here, these 2 needing mushrooms. Then you take these boost ramps down these rocky pillars, making the final bit a mad dash towards this part of the ocean base. Does anyone actually care about the reverse variants? Of course. For Mario Circuit... Sorry, I thought we were gonna have another mold incident. Anyways, here there would just be 2 ramps to accompany these cliffs. Medieval Motorway is the same story, just a ramp for this cliff jump right here. Nothing changes about Motley Manor, but the Squid Game wheel would be going the opposite direction now. For Deep Sea Drive, first of all there'd be a glider ramp right here. Some people might be asking about gliding underwater since that's never been a thing as far as I can remember, and I don't see why it can't. It's a fictional racing game, so I don't think using a glider underwater is too far-fetched. But anyways, you can strategically glide to take one of these alternate routes up here, then all the ramps are swapped in the cave section. This top path becomes a feather shortcut with extra boost pads placed up here. Then there's a ramp placed in the giant current to launch you back to the shallow ocean area. Here you can once again glide to this little shortcut area, or just take the normal route. There's also an extra little road right here for a half-pipe shortcut, similar to the one in Waluigi Stadium. You head back to the ocean base where there's no drastic changes beyond ramp flipping. There's your reverse track lore. Are you happy? Yeah, okay, whatever.
Thank you, Super Mario Bros. It seems like the only thing you haven't drained is...
You've confessed to my courses with mold for the last time, Mold Mario.
I'm a Toby.
I had a pretty ambitious idea for the trick variant of Mario Circuit. Layout-wise, all I've changed is adding a few extra enemies. The real change comes in the items. There's only 6 items you can roll on this track, and you can only get them from hitting the question blocks. For this race, you would start out in small form, which just makes your racer and cart a little smaller and slower than usual. Acquiring a mushroom will increase your size and speed back to normal, and allow you to roll a fire flower, which becomes a permanent transformation. But you can only fire 2 fireballs before waiting a 5-second cooldown. I can only imagine the hellscape this track would become if fireballs had no cooldown. Getting hit would make you do a quick spin out, like from a banana, but getting hit at your smallest state leaves you very vulnerable, and you will crash completely when getting hit, taking a little longer to recover than normal races. The star and coin both act identical, and while probably not possible and more of it's just a small Easter egg, getting 100 coins will give you a 1-up, which is another power up you can roll, allowing you to absorb an attack with no consequence. The last item is the poison mushroom. Now you can only roll at higher positions that'll damage you and decrease your speed for a bit. The enemies also play into this new style of racing. Hitting them will remove your current abilities just like in traditional Mario, but you can also take them out with a fire flower or by landing on top of them from the ramps. They will respawn after a bit. This might be a little bit too chaotic, but I figured it would be a fun twist on the course, especially since it's just a trick variant. Super easy to avoid if this style of racing isn't your thing. Medieval Motorway starts out normal, with the first big change being this anti-gravity route along the wall with boost panels. It ends right here and is completely optional. Then the stairways extend into a jump right here, where you take this large slanted road around the castle. You jump down and drive along this wall, and you do a half-pipe U-turn and drive into the castle, completing the rest of the race as normal. me when the environment is mold free. For Motley Manor, there's an extra ramp right here that takes you on top of the stands. This area was only accessible by feather in the original version, and then at the end of this little path there's a motion trampoline. The ramp over here is now a cannon glide that takes you to the path that was only accessible by the feather. There's 2 new ramps here, and the slide roads are made into half pipes. The Squid Game rotation machine will now change the direction it's spinning every once in a while. The blue slide starts with an anti-gravity panel. It is now lined with half pipes, with fuzzies in the middle for you to avoid. The boat ride area is now deeper, completely submerged and slanted, with side steppers right here to avoid. You exit the mansion and then you finish the race like normal. Deep Sea Drive has been transformed into a tour style track, letting you explore all over the ocean base. The first lap is normal except you don't descend into the ocean. You drive past it, then into this large room with sea piranha plants to avoid. Also, the sea piranha plants would be an alternate costume for piranha plant. You then drive through this anti-gravity glass pipe. After you leave, you're in this little factory area, where you take this conveyor belt down this hallway, and then another turn that brings you up to the first area, beginning the mark of the final lap. You race like normal until the lobby area, where you are directed into the stairway. You drive through this little laboratory, then across this bridge in the lobby area, and then you go up this pipe back above the water. You can glide over this little gap here with a feather, and then you take a right through these buildings. You glide over the sea back to the starting line and finish the race. And that's the entire Star Cup complete. Again, I had so much fun making these. Thanks for watching my stuff. All the support makes me super happy. And I also want to show off some fan art you guys have made, which should be scrolling by right now. Which is a sentence I thought I'd never say. That's insane. Thank y'all so much. Come hang out on my server if you'd like to talk about Mario Kart, and I'd appreciate any support I could get on Ko-Fi. Thanks for watching, and I love you guys.